What's the deal? The company says strategic options. That's Wall Street speak for maybe they're going to sell it.
That's right.
Or do something.
Last year they said they were going to explore strategic options as well, and now we're hearing, but when they announced that last year, they said that a sale really wasn't on the table or wasn't option A. Today we now know that that is option A, and that probably stems from, management, the reality sinking in that the launch of the 10 series phone is not going as planned, maybe a little bit more dire than they even expected.
I mean, it's not selling as well as they had hoped.
Right.
Yeah. Brian, can you tell me on this, and what would be the benefit if BlackBerry was a privately held company?
Well, it's really interesting. Last week we talked about Dell. We've got two mega public companies that are basically startups, right? They're a mess. And what they want to do probably is go private so they can kind of re-engineer their whole business model, which they definitely need to do.
So if they re-engineer the business model, what's different, whether they're a privately held company or whether they're publicly held? If no one buys their phone, that's still a problem.
It's true, but on these shows like this, we're not focused every day on the stock price, the quarterly earnings, the estimates. They've got time to sort of plan their business and try to make a run at this thing. It's amazing. I mean, they are a mega company, but they really have to start again. And they've got to re-engineer the products, get them popular again, hopefully, and just reorient the entire thing. And it's going to take time.
Esther Dyson, can you re-engineer a company like BlackBerry? Is there a real history of making this kind of thing happen?
Not really. I hesitate to say this, but I do have a BlackBerry. I couldn't find it. And, that's kind of the problem. People don't talk about them. They don't share apps on them. The developers don't develop for them. A phone isn't simply a piece of technology. It's an ecosystem with things people want on it. They use it for certain things, and so it's not simply selling it to users. It's getting this whole thing around it. The reason I had my BlackBerry was because I had a fixed price international data roaming, but that doesn't take you very far when Samsung, Apple, Android are all doing amazing things.
Esther, what about the actual keyboard that many people who have used BlackBerries in the past find very enticing, but many of the phones, in fact most of them now, they don't have an actual keyboard. Is that an area that BlackBerry could still be successful in?
It's something some people care about, but I think they discover it matters less than they thought. There are also little pointing devices. There's
text interpretation, there's text
like
completion.
Flexi.
What is Flexi?
Flexi just corrects your type while you type. There's a new CAPTCHA coming that I'm going to be an investor in, just disclosure, that instead of typing in, you do something else that you can do much more easily. So
they might not miss it as much as they say they do.
There's a lot of smart people there. They need to figure out something else for them to do rather than try and resurrect BlackBerry. They need to take those resources and recycle them.
Christina, is there any value on the balance sheet? I mean, there's cash available for BlackBerry investors.
Oh, well, there's some cash for sure, but the problem for BlackBerry will be, as far as strategics that may be interested, I mean, they've all had a chance to take a look at the business. It's not news, per se, that BlackBerry, is willing to entertain discussions, right? They said that they were reviewing strategic options, potentially some joint, partnerships and whatnot. So presumably, if you're Microsoft and you wanted to make a run at BlackBerry, you would have already done the work. So it seems like from the strategic standpoint, there really isn't that much demand. From a private equity standpoint, I know some guys that took a look at this from a private equity standpoint. They think that it's a falling knife kind of scenario, unlikely that you can add more debt on this company. Remember, that's necessary for a take private. There is a fair amount of speculation around this one director, Pimm Fox, that stepped down today because of a conflict of interest. He became the #1 shareholder last year, surpassing even one of the founders, and that has generated some speculation that he may maybe form a group or be a part of a group that goes ahead and takes BlackBerry private. Again, that is purely speculation on the part of some analysts out there that are talking about this. Again, we have one of the largest pension funds in Canada last week not potentially ruling out an investment in a take private. So you could see a situation where maybe some nationalistic interests come together. This guy, Watsa, is known as Canada's Warren Buffett. So he's obviously a national figure there. So you could see maybe some national players getting together. You know, the other obstacle here would be even if a Lenovo would want to come in and buy BlackBerry, they would have to get clearance from the Canadian regulators who look at foreign ownership of their home companies very closely.
Also agreements that BlackBerry has with the U.S. Department of Defense about security issues.
That's right. You can't discount that either.